Oh, no. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva Vedya Dravidam, Tvameva Sarvam Namadeva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Namadeva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Who has come in? All right, dear. And who's that over there?
Shilpa.
Shilpa. Oh. Dance. I've got a ride, Sheila.
No.
Yes, it's all cool. Do you want to get a chair?
Yes.
Okay. So, reviewing a bit of what we covered last week. Reminder that Hinduism doesn't really have mythology. It has mystic symbolism. All of the stories are not necessarily about historical events. They may be, I don't know. But for sure, what they're about is states of spiritual unfoldment. They're about you and they're about me. So these verses we covered about Krishna coming back when things get dark and gloomy, what this is really about is what I call the salvific principle. And we went through how the Dharma actually is experienced in your mind and my mind. From the moment I get up in the morning to the moment my head hits the pillow at night, my mind is only engaged in one activity. I seek the good by my highest understanding, and I avoid misery. The only real question is, where is the good? And that can take lifetimes. So to summarize it all, it is theoretically possible to engage in the spiritual life out of inspiration and to continue to practice out of inspiration. However, if everything's going fine, few of us do. If I'm in Swarga, heaven, I'm hitting all the green lights of life, why should I meditate? Why should I study scripture? Why should I look at discrimination and dispassion? I'm getting my cash and my prizes. I'm winning. But of course, that's always temporary. So for most of us, most of the time, spiritual growth has suffering as its impetus. I'm suffering and I want to get out of my suffering. This is the Guru manifesting in our hearts. This is Krishna operating in my life. Any thoughts about this? So to be focused on, oh, when is Kalki going to come, or for Christians, is the rapture going to come? It serves no purpose. Leave all that to God. But if we understand the mystic symbolism of this, then it can be quite useful. Any thoughts on this? So, Deepa, I think we're on chapter 11, verse 11, chapter 4. Is that right, Mark?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Deepa actually can read the Sanskrit. So.
Okay. Should I start?
Yes, please.
Ye yatha mam prapadyante tamsthaiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. In whatever way men approach me, even so do I reward them. My path do men tread in all ways, O son of Pritha.
Yes, I love this verse. So, what are you into? Oh man, I'm just into as much sex as possible. You just think you are. You're really into Krishna. What are you into? Money. I want to make lots of money. Okay, that's what you think you're into. You're really into Krishna. You just don't know it. What are you into? Power and prestige. Okay, it's what you think. Really, you're into Krishna. You just don't know it. Now, this is not about what's your Ishta Devata. Oh, I worship the mother. Oh, that's wrong. You should be worshiping Krishna. Oh, my Ishta Devata is Shiva. No, that's wrong. Worship Krishna. This is not what it means. So what Krishna is indicating here is a deep understanding of the whole science of happiness, of pleasure. Everybody treads the path to Krishna, whether they know it or not. It's just they do it mostly in the wrong way. So it's now time to go into what I call the pleasure principle. I think the psychologists use this, so I got to find another name for this, but it's the technology of happiness. Yoga says the world's not bad, the world's not good either. The world is shunyata. Who can tell me what shunyata means? Empty. Let's examine this. Let's look at dharma. The dharma of a thing is the essence of a thing, the nature of a thing, without which it would not be the thing that it is. That's the primary definition. So it's the dharma of water to be wet. Who here experiences wetness in water? Raise your hand. It's the dharma of sugar to be sweet. Who experiences sweetness in sugar? It's the dharma of fire to burn. Who experiences burning in fire? Now, Who here likes coffee? Who here doesn't like coffee? Do you have any hands?
Yeah, one.
One, okay. Who here likes anchovies? Who here doesn't like anchovies? Who here likes a good rare steak? Who here goes, oh, gag, I want lentils. See the point? What are you attracted to romantically? You like that him? Oh God, he's weird, you know. So what we like differs from person to person. But when you get what you want, who finds some joy in it? What's really going on? What is it that has happiness as its dharma? Can't be any of the foods, can't be any of the situations. Who wants to own a house? Well, that's going to make me happy. Who's glad they don't have a house? Houses can't be where happiness is. Where is happiness? I will show you what goes on. Based on the force of the past, I actually have a mental card file based on past experiences. This made me happy, this made me happy, that made me unhappy, this made me happy, this made me happy. So what happens as the objects, which are fundamentally neutral, come in contact with me, I go, aha! Use the prayer stone as a stand-in for whatever it is that makes me happy, the widget. So first step is Priya. Who can tell me what Priya means? There's some Indians here. What's Priya mean?
Dear.
Dear, yes. It's precious, it's dear. I determine that's dear to me. Santosha's mother made me curries last week. Very dear to me. Someone else may say, oh, too spicy, too spicy. Yeah. I determine what's dear to me, and it's mechanical. It's based on the force of the past. Now, listen very carefully. The mind will prefer the familiar to the good. Anybody here have a friend who came from, say, an abusive family or, say, an alcoholic family, and they end up getting involved with a person just like their abusive or alcoholic parent? Oh my God, why would you marry someone like that? Unconsciously, that's just like mommy, or just like daddy. So the mind essentially prefers the familiar. It prefers what's given me the juice before. There's a very famous Upanishad, probably the most complete in its teaching, Kathopanishad. Who's here's read Kathopanishad? So after all the testing that happens, and Yamaraj, Lord Yama, finally says, okay, kid, I'm going to give you the teaching. What's the first thing he says? Two paths approach a person. Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas is just another form of Priya. Shreyas, the good. Preyas or Priya, what I like. Electable and the delectable. the preferable and pleasurable. Now, thank God, as we practice yoga, eventually the good becomes pleasurable. Put that on the shelf. For us ordinary folk, we're just unconscious. We're out there in the world and, oh, chocolate cake. Priya. The next step is what we call moda. I get proximate to my object of desire. I buy it. I grow it. I build it. I date it. I hook up with it. Etc., etc., etc. I get a real estate agent for it. So I get proximate to my object of desire, some person, place, thing, or situation. Then finally, when desire and object of desire become one, oh, Pramoda, the point of pleasure. When desire and object of desire become one. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And it can be something as simple as I just accomplished something at work. Or it could be something like you're working with an addict and they finally really do decide to get into recovery. It can be a good dish that you have got in a restaurant. It can be, you do the dances right. Whatever it is. Desire and object of desire. And by object, I mean a person, place, thing, or situation. That's called pramoda, the point of pleasure. In my ignorance, I think the object did it. What has really happened is something very different. Let's set this part of the discussion on the shelf for now and approach it from a little bit different viewpoint. What does it feel like to want something you don't have? Or the flip side, aversion. I want to get rid of something I can't stand. Or what I call the neurotic form. I have what I want, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. New car. Oh no, I'm not going to park there. It might get the door scratched. I'm going to park 2 blocks away and walk. It sucks. Now, for now, let's put physical pain on the shelf. Few people blow their brains out because they've got a backache. Can you find any other kind of suffering other than wanting something you don't have, wanting to get rid of something you don't like, or the fear that you have because you're afraid you're going to lose it? And you're like a person at a banquet with a thorn in their throat. Yoga says it is karma. It is the craving itself that is the suffering. The mind state of jonesing, of yearning, of longing. Raga. I want. Another wonderful word. Vancha. Want. Spriha. Longing. Buddhists like the term Trishna, means thirsting. Or Dvesha, aversion. I don't like this, and I don't like that, and I don't like you. Ah. That is the essence of my suffering. So what do? Priya, Moda, Pramoda. I momentarily get a respite from the longing. You know the story, the fellow who's got a hammer, bang, bang, bang. Why are you banging your head with a hammer? That's awfully weird. Well, it feels so good when I stop. I want this, I want that, and more of this, and more. I got something, but now I want this, and I didn't get enough of that. Give me more of this. And the more I want it, and the further away I am from it, the more it hurts. If you, at the middle of your concert next week, fall down on the stage, trip over your costume, how are you going to feel? Terrible. What? You really want to do well, don't you?
Yeah.
I want you to do well. But you see the point. Or someone who's single and wants a partner. We all know people like that. Oh, I'm so lonely. I'm so lonely. And it hurts so bad. And the more I want it, and the further away it seems, the more painful it is. And my mind says, the happiness is here. Priya, Ola. Someday my prince will come. That's what I think. What I think. Yoga says what has really happened. I have created what I think will bring me pleasure. I made it up. I went through all the struggle to get proximate to it, work. And when desire and object of desire become one, for a moment, my mind has come home. It is freed from the craving. And I get a taste of my own self nature. Now, many of us have, I'm sure, read in scripture or on YouTube the term Satchidananda to refer to the self. Who's heard that before? Sat, pure existence. Chit, awareness. Ananda. We usually think it's like Ramakrishna, like falling out into God. It's not what Ananda means. Yourself never changes. You are experiencing Ananda right now, no matter how crappy your day's been. So obviously, what Ananda means can't be what I think it is. I have a romantic idea of it. In the beginning, we translate Ananda as no sorrow reaches there. Physical pain gets to my body, emotional turmoil gets to my mind, doubt and confusion get to my intellect, but nothing gets to me. But when I thoroughly internalize yoga's teaching on what is pleasure, I come to see the self is the fountainhead, the wellspring, the source all joy. When the mind leaves home, and I want this and I want that, and I want to have control issues, and the more I am into that state of mind, the more unhappy I am. But if I can let go and let the mind come home, Swamiji used to say, hurry home, Hari Om. So we experienced a kiss of the bliss of Brahman, the Brahmananda rasa. The rasa means juice. Atmaramana, to revel in the self. Two ways. There is a mediated way, meaning there's a medium. Yoga never says that chocolate cake isn't pretty good. But I just use the objects, the medium, to momentarily get a kiss of the bliss. What the yogi learns to do is permanently work on becoming free from the tyranny of addiction. Now, Nikki and I both work in addiction. What happens when someone is in recovery? It isn't that they have the willpower to resist the temptation to drink or use. The desire to use has been removed. Now, drugs and alcohol are only a socially unacceptable form of the human condition. All of us have more socially appropriate forms of an addictive relationship with life. If you're suffering, you're caught because of ignorance in the tyranny of grief. Now, this taste of my own self is Krishna. So Krishna says, whatever way people approach me, I'm into sex, I'm into money, I'm into power and prestige, I'm into accomplishing great things in the world. Priya, Bodha, so the yogi may dance with an object of the senses, comes along, and then based on the force of their past, oh, a widget. They go dance with the widget. Desire and object of desire become one. Krishna, Krishna, boy, did that stop my mind. It is fundamental to understand this. Otherwise, the spiritual life in the end doesn't make any sense. So we have bhoga, B-H-O-G-A. A bhogi wants happiness. A bhogi tries to get happiness by satisfying as many desires as possible. The end result is more desires. Never enough sex, never enough money, never enough attention. Yoga is practiced by yogis. Yoga means union. What gets united with what? It is the mind that gets yoked to the self, to Krishna. A yogi also wants happiness. Remember what we said about the mind from the moment you get up in the morning to the moment your head hits the pillow? We're only engaged in one activity. Where is the good? Avoid suffering. Don't believe me. Look at your life. Oh, I put aside my own desires to serve the poor. That's because that's your idea of the good. That's all the mind does. The question is, where's the good? Good's you. Such is the power of Maya. Even having heard this, our attachment to the world is awfully strong. And this is where abhyasa vairagyacha becomes the watchword. Abhyasa, what's that mean? Practice. What's vairagya? Renunciation, detachment. And this is done out of insight. Who here is involved in a significant other relationship? Okay. In the beginning, did you want to fix your partner? Change them? And if it's a long-term relationship, I suspect you gave up on that one. Am I right? You didn't get the other person to finally change. You let go of the desire. There's some peace in the house. Making sense? The other one, we've all experienced this. You're on your way to an appointment and you're driving on the freeway and you're late. Or those of us who take public transportation, you're waiting for that bus and it's late. And you're impatient and you're stressed. And finally you go running into traffic, ETA, 20 minutes late. You didn't get there faster. You dropped the desire. Powerless over the situation. We all have that. It proves to us that it's not really about getting what we want. It's to quiet the tyranny of craving. Now, there's another way I can prove this to you. No matter how unhappy you are, no matter how much you don't have what you want, where does it go in deep sleep? What object, what situation, what person is causing the peace, the bliss of deep sleep? What's gone is your craving mind. That's why we love sleep. So your jonesing, craving, covetous mind is essential for misery. It's not necessary. So this is the mystic meaning behind this teaching. In whatever way men approach me, so am I to them. Everybody pursues me always just by the wrong method. Because if I'm dancing with the objects, and that's what I think is going to make me happy, and I'm attached to them, that builds a vasana, a deep impression, makes me want to repeat it, and I end up getting addictive relationships with these people, places, things, and situations. This doesn't mean not to enjoy the world. The world's beautiful. Man, the world's running. But I like to use the example of a sunset. If you go look at a beautiful sunset, you can enjoy it immensely. No one wants to take a sunset home and hang it on the wall. I take that back. Sunset. Or you can go to a museum. Who here likes to go to museums? You know, you see beautiful works of art, fabulous things, ancient things in history, and you leave the museum. You don't want to bring it home and hang it on your wall. So it's possible to enjoy without the need to possess, without the need to be attached. Absolutely one of the most important verses in the whole Gita. Any thoughts or questions about it? Next verse,
I have one.
please.
So would that be the same for in a hypothetical situation, drugs? It's possible to enjoy, but not be attached.
No, because drugs set up the phenomenon of craving in the body. That's something your body just does. Now, I don't know if there are people who are casual heroin users. You don't know any, Nikki? Yes, no?
I mean, there's people that like say it's possible, but no, like overall.
I think they're just people who are at the beginning of the progression towards addiction.
Yeah. All right, so let's take it down a notch then. So let's just say unhealthy foods or like junk foods.
Well, but what will happen if you're like most people, you can go out and have some junk food and it may set up the phenomenon of craving, meaning you want to repeat it. Can you have one potato chip? Theoretically possible, but most people don't. They eat the whole damn bag. Can you have one piece of chocolate? Or do you eat the whole pound, box?
So what's the option for these people? Just don't do it.
Well, you got to figure that out for yourself. Now, I will speak about drugs and excessive alcohol use for yogis. It's antithetical to progress on the spiritual path because Why do we use it? Let me talk a little bit about the gunas. Let's go over that again. Tamas, the principle of inactivity, delusion, illusion, shutting down. Rajas, the principle of activity, doing, acting, but it's where all our suffering is. Jealousy, competition, boredom, low self-esteem, anger, fear, all those are rajasic tendencies. Sattva, clarity, the sattvic mind. The mind is easily and naturally free from craving. Knowledge of the self is effortless. If I need release, relief, I don't like my current mind state and I want to just vacation, vacate, and I go to drugs and mind-altering substances, I'm essentially putting the mind from rajas into tamas. Now, some drugs will fool you. I was actually talking with a person who was a cocaine addict. What he loved about cocaine is it made him feel powerful. That is until he got fired from his $700,000 a year job, lost his partner and his house. How's that working out for you? Pretty powerful. Or psychedelics. A lot of people think psychedelics. Oh, but I'm spiritual. I'm doing LSD because it's spiritual. This is what's the word? This is a sacrament. This is a ritual. And the drug puts you in an altered state. You haven't gone through the manual labor of dealing with your attachments and reactions. And all this stuff. I've done it. And then the drug tells you what your experience is real. And the ordinary mind is unreal. That's God consciousness. So what's the next thing you want to do? Do it again. Reality, which is bliss absolute, is always here. It is not a mind state. And the reason we're restless, discontent, irritated, annoyed is because of that low level rajas going on in the mind. And if we deal with it by trying to get away from now, you can do that for lifetimes. Is that useful?
Mm.
I love what Ram Dass said. You know, he was deeply, when he was Richard Alpert, when he was a full professor of psychology at Harvard with Timothy Leary. They were one of the first to do real experiments with LSD. He and Leary both got really into it. And then he eventually set that aside when he met Neem Karoli Baba. And he said, I just got tired of going to the gates of heaven and then being thrown back to earth again. What we need to do is do nitty-gritty, unromantic manual labor of dealing with attachment and false identification. Thought by thought, situation by situation. There's no shortcut. All right. Did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next verse.
Kangshantam karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha Shipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. They who long for satisfaction from actions in this world make sacrifices to the gods because satisfaction is quickly obtained from actions in the world of objects.
So there's an exoteric understanding and an esoteric understanding. So you go to the local pujari or astrologer and you say, I want to be successful in business. And they say, do this puja to Lakshmi and chant this mantra. And if you believe it, and these mantras have a lot of power around them, you might get it. The deeper meaning, and we talked about this in chapter 3. If we think of Deva as a presiding principle over a field of human endeavor. So Shilpa's got a dance concert next Saturday. So she is doing propitiation of the dance god. Nikki's a doctor, so she propitiates the medicine god, the healing god. Who's the one who's in charge of the bank in heaven? Kubara? Do you know Deepa?
Kuber.
Spell it?
Kuber.
Okay, Kuber. So you don't work for the Federal Reserve, the money god. That's who you worship, meaning I put my time and energy and understanding into becoming an expert in this field. That's what I'm doing. And we talked about if you do the yajna to that god, then that god will repay you. We get the prasad, which meaning I do well at my work, and I get a decent paycheck perhaps. But what Krishna is saying here, this is what in an exoteric way most people do. And the rewards come quickly. Oh, I got a good review this year, I'm getting a bonus. But they're always temporary. Oh, I got a stock option at Reddit. Oops, they went bankrupt. When did Reddit go bankrupt? I got a stock option in Tesla. Oops. Tesla tanked. Elon Musk is doing weird things. Always temporary. This is what the world does. And if you're a Hindu and you open up a shop and you then put a little mandir in the back and you get a Lakshmi Murti, and then you ask the local pujari to come. You do puja. Why? So your business is successful. So there's the exoteric and then there's the deeper meaning. This is the way of the world, and the results are more immediate, but they're always temporary. I've been worshiping the 401k god. What happened this past year? Boom. Next verse.
Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaramapi mama vidya kartaram avyayam. The fourfold caste has been created by me according to the differentiation of guna and karma. Though I am the author thereof, know me as non-doer and immutable.
So this is one of those shlokas that people high on the social scale in India have used to keep other people in bondage. And Indians are not unique. In the Christian scripture, St. Paul has verses that say, wives, obey your husbands, slaves, obey your masters. And people in this country said, slavery's not bad, it's in the Bible. We know better. We know better now. So I'm not going to try to justify or rationalize the tyranny of the caste system. But please look at it closely. Notice that Krishna says, I am the author of the fourfold caste. By the way, for non-Indians, what are they? The Brahmins, the priest caste, those who are in charge of the cultural heritage, the scholars, the religious rites of the society. Kshatriyas, the warriors, the kings. Their job is to maintain righteousness, protect the vulnerable. Vaishyas. These are people who are responsible for the production and distribution of goods and services. Shudras, working class, people who work with their hands. None is more important than the other. Now, notice that Krishna says, I am the author of the fourfold caste according to guna and karma, not janma. What's janma? So you may have been born into a Brahmin family, received your sacred thread, done your Gayatri mantra, left all that behind, went to college, got yourself your degree, moved to the United States. Why? To make money, climbing the corporate ladder. You're not a Brahmin, you're a merchant. You may have been born in one of, now they call them the scheduled classes or tribal. They use nicer words. They don't use the more pejorative terms anymore. But you may have a deep yearning for God. And you may be drawn to deep spirituality. So, for example, in the old-timey days, only Brahmins could go into the 4 great mutts that Shankara founded. But when Chinmaya opened his Sandipani, Sadhanalayas, would take anyone who was interested, whatever their caste was. So if someone were a Shudra, even if they were Dalit, outcast, they were studying to be a brahmachari in the Chinmaya mission, they all go to the Sringeri Mutt, and the Shankaracharya said, well, they're a Chinmaya Brahman, they could call. He made proofs. Why? Because it's guna, qualities of mind, karma, our action. Please understand this fourfold division of society does not mean one caste is better than another. By the way, what does the word varna, caste, mean? Anybody know?
Color?
Color. So if you look at shoddy.com to find a wife, oh, she's fair skinned, wheat colored. I'm not making this up. There's still a preference for fairer skin. All of that is nonsense. It's remnants of the British Raj and remnants of various invasions and occupations in India. Various Dravidian cultures were suppressed, conquered by fairer cultures that came in from the north. It's there. It's there. Swamiji fought tirelessly against the tyranny of the caste system. Now, I take great pride in the fact that I am a Chandala. What's a Chandala? Things Dalit. An outcast because I have been born outside the caste system. I'm a white guy from America. So it's a touchy subject. We have to understand that all scriptures are written in a cultural context. Even Gita has some things we know better now. And for sure, it never says, I'm the author of the fourfold caste and the Brahmins are better than anybody else. And if you're a really good housekeeper or a sweeper, you may be lucky and come back in a better life. That is nonsense. Any thoughts on this before we go on? All right, next verse.
Namamam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha iti mama yobhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. Actions do not taint me, nor have I any desire for the fruits of actions. He who knows me thus is not bound by his actions.
Yes. And by the way, before we leave the prior verse, there are great saints in India that have come from all castes. So, for example, Amaji, the hugging saint, poor fisherwoman. This verse, however, though, now he's talking about whatever my job is in the world, whatever my station is, the self in me is never touched. So the outer understanding, if your job is working with leather, that's fine. If you slaughter animals, that's where you find yourself right now. actions do not touch me.
Jim,
Yes.
since you asked if anyone has anything to add to that verse, I just want to point that for instance in the Mahabharata there is a whole section on what's called the Vyadhya Gita. Have you heard of this?
Tell us about it.
It's actually a very powerful story about a person an ascetic who's meditating in the forest, and then he goes to a householder woman for bhiksha, and it turns out that she actually has far greater powers. I'm telling a very condensed version in the interest of time. And then she instructs him to go to a butcher for higher knowledge. So it's a story about how, these ideas of purity and hierarchy and so on, they're debunked pretty systematically in several scriptures, including even in the Mahabharata. I mean, not that the Mahabharata is a scripture, but this butcher is shown as the most realized person, and he gives knowledge about the self to this ascetic who had great pride in his asceticism and higher birth and so on.
And I can't remember which stotram it is of Shankara's, but the gist of it is he's walking along the road and there's an outcast in front of him and he says, "Get out of the way." And the outcast says, "I am everywhere. Where am I to go?"
Yes, yes.
And Shankara realized, oh, it's an incarnation of Lord Shiva.
Yes.
Same idea. Same.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. But in this verse that we're covering now, thank you for sharing that. The idea here is physical actions belong to the body. And it is society that says good and bad by and large. It is the mind that reacts with its various emotions and judgments. It is the intellect that determines success and failure, virtue or vice. But none of it touches the self. You may lead a life that's ritually pure. Does not improve yourself. Now, let me put this in tension. If we live an unethical life, it's going to agitate our minds. Let me give you a real life example. Those of you who are in primary relationships, have you ever gotten really angry and said something unkind to your partner? How does it make you feel? Pretty crappy, and doesn't it? It's someone you love. See, the truth is, you see it with the person we're connected with, but we're really connected with everyone and everything. So when we behave in a way that is violent, in the end, it grossifies the mind. I've been reading a wonderful book, and this book is called The Noble Eightfold Path by Bhikkhu Bodhi. And in one section, he reduces all of the various moral teachings to ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Not to do violence to others. And listen carefully, not to do violence to ourselves. So do you engage? Oh, why did I do that? That was so stupid. I should have kept my mouth shut. Anybody go through that kind of nonsense? That's himsa. That's violence. Might as well just kick a dog. It's violence. No different. I'm so stupid. I'm so ugly. I'm so unlovable. Yeah, kick the dog. Violence. Most of our problems stem back to the fear and the reactivity of pain. So when you mess up, because you were going to, still understand, doesn't touch the self. The Buddhists have a term called the second arrow. Has anybody heard this term before? So you have something as you're working through the world where you suffer. You react to something. That's the first arrow. The second arrow is regret. Why did I do that? I should have done something else. If only I had done this. That's the second arrow. That's the suffering we engage in against ourselves. Himsa. In this verse, Krishna is saying, be the witness of the actions of the body, the reactions of the mind, the oscillations of the intellect. The practice is called Sakshi Bhava, taking on the attitude, the feeling of the witness, just staying in the higher intellect, watching, 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 not getting involved, staying detached. Let the equipment fulfill its duty, its function in the world. I do nothing. Simply watch the movie. All right. What verse are we on for next week, Deepa?
$15.
All right, we'll end here tonight. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha.